you doing, man?
Pretty good.
What'd you eat for lunch?
I had mozzarella sticks and garlic bread.
Wow.
And
Homemade?
no, come on. I did think about homemaking mozzarella sticks. I've never fried anything like that before, though. Like
Yeah, I
deep fried
haven't.
anything.
Yeah, would
But
you
it's
only
just
be
like
able to deep
breaded.
fry it?
Yeah, I don't think it would hold together if you baked it. But I
Yeah,
think it's just like string cheese. You do that and then like bread it with like maybe an egg wash or some sort of thing like that.
right. Is that all it is, the string cheese, mozzarella sticks?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe in like restaurants, in high-end restaurants where they serve mozzarella sticks.
They're like, oh, maybe we'll step up from string cheese in a package and deep fry it and just do
And just
like
cut it. Yeah.
mozzarella. That's what they call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just been watching The Sopranos, and Paulie is like complaining at a coffee shop because he's just like, this is Italian. They stole this from us. And
Coffee?
yeah, or like a coffee shop, because they go in obviously in the joke. I guess this would be like 99 or 2000. They go in and they're just like, what would you like? And it's just like, I'll have a mocha frappe,
Right.
latte, with half and like all of the like crazy, those like stereotypical 90s jokes about Starbucks coffee.
Yeah. I feel like that was half of Frasier because they hung out at the coffee shop. So like half of
just
it was just
just a standard
roasting
joke
people. Yeah.
of, all right, what's the crazy coffee order today? And
Yeah.
it's like caramel macchiato with skim on the side with like all this stuff. But yeah, it was funny because they were talking about coffee and like cappuccino and like Italian stuff, and then they're like, we invented this pizza,
Hmm.
buffalo mozzarella, and like started naming all this stuff, and it's hilarious because yeah, it's a very Italian pride thing.
Yeah. I haven't watched the show, but maybe I'll check it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you not? You're Italian, right?
Half Italian.
Half
Yeah.
Italian. Well, I feel like, I don't know. Growing up in Long Island, that's what they say, right? You grew up in Long Island.
And they say on Long Island.
Oh, uh, well, yeah. It's kind of like that movie Gotti, where it takes place in Long Island, and it paints this picture that like, if you were Italian and you grew up on Long Island, you just like worshipped at the feet of John Gotti because he was like a neighborhood guy who was
Hmm.
also like, tough.
Yeah. Before my time.
Well, the guy who the redheaded guy from Entourage, he like directed the movie.
E.
I never seen Entourage. I've been on the other side of the HBO thing where it's like I saw Sopranos, I never saw Entourage. But he directed this movie, and at the end of the movie, they just show like news footage of like reporters talking to neighborhood people about John Gotti, like in the late 80s and the 90s,
Hmm.
and they're just like, John's the best. He's a real neighborhood guy. We
Wait, these
respect
are
him.
real
Yeah,
people that.
and there's one where it's like a
Like when Harry
teenager.
met Sally, where they're sitting people down on the couch.
Yeah, and it's like stock, like real news footage that they put at the end of the John
Oh,
Travolta masterpiece, John Gotti, and it's kind of like the whole movie is supposed to paint this picture of like John Gotti, who is this guy who, who was just a neighborhood kid who like became like a heavyweight in the scene. And like towards the end, he basically, his son got into the game, and his son was gonna turn like state's witness against the Gotti family. And so the
mhm.
latter part of the film is basically like John Travolta convincing his son to like not talk to the cops.
That's why do like crime families still exist? Because that's wild to me that there can be like this. It's like the old west where there's people
Yeah,
that like the cops know are like that guy definitely robbed the bank, but
right.
they're like walking around being like, yeah, I robbed the bank, and they can't do anything.
Well,
That's
I
me. I
think
robbed the bank.
well, I think that's part of that movie, and also like since I'm rewatching The Sopranos, they talk about it in The Sopranos where I guess there was a the RICO, like to be able to like do racketeering and like all that stuff and be able to like go after a head of an organization who isn't necessarily the person like beating somebody up or killing somebody, but is like organizing it. That like started to change how like those mafia people would be able to like survive out and about. And it basically made it impossible because before, like Al Capone's age, the cops could only arrest the guy who like actually robbed the bank. They couldn't arrest like Al Capone,
Like
who was like,
in the act, they had to catch them.
yeah, basically like if you had the gun in your hand, it was still smoking, and you were standing over the body, and they saw you do it, they'd be like, "All right, buddy, let's go." But if they just came and you were just standing there and you had no gun and there was a dead body, they wouldn't really be able to be like, "Hey, you're under arrest," because they're like, "Prove it."
Hmm.
But like I guess with the RICO statute, they would be able to be like, well, if XYZ all associate with this person, we can assume that this person is in charge of the hench people, and we can arrest that head honcho. And Gotti in the movie, he's basically like doing all that, gets put in jail, like he gets caught, gets put in jail, and he's like dying of cancer, and he's supposed to be painted as this like not completely sympathetic. I guess in the movie's eyes, he's like he's not. He just was an honest guy who's doing what he only knew, which is crime and bad guy stuff.
Hmm.
And then at the end of the movie, they just show like news footage of people who are like everyday Joes who are like, yeah, he was great. He was like a real like he's a real true like Italian American or whatever. And they're just like, it's weird because it's such a weird ending to that movie.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favorite movies of the past 5 years.
How do you like that when like it's a fictional or it's like based on a true story, the movie, and then they show real stuff at the end? Do you feel like that takes you out of the
No, I
fact
love
that
it.
you just you like that?
It's so cheesy and it's so like
Yeah.
I mean, it could be like I mean, I don't know, name it like an important event and they make a movie about it. Most people will
Hmm.
go to the movie and be like, "Oh wow, I'm gonna go see a movie about um, I don't know, like David Koresh or whatever." And then at
Yeah.
the end, if they're just showing like FBI footage of like helicopter over the compound, and it's just like it feels very TV where it's like,
Hmm.
70 people lost their lives and all this stuff. We're just like, we understand that.
I'd like if they did it like the end of Animal House, where it's like a freeze frame on the person, and then you get like that chyron that's like Malcolm X went on to do.
Malcolm X went on to be. Yeah, I know. It was definitely like a trope way back when of like doing those, especially, how like all those movies would start out with, or I guess the trailers would be like based on a true story, or
Hmm.
now it's like inspired by real events. Because if you say it's inspired, like based on a true story, people will be like, they'll do the green book on you. They'll throw a green book at you, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, this isn't exactly how it happened. So you got to say inspired by, which basically allows you to be like, yeah,
Fargo kind of did that, right? Like
yeah, oh,
famously.
totally. Because it
Yeah.
was, what was it like? They weren't actually being chased on the runway of the airplane, right?
I don't know the specifics, but I think there was a lot of like, uh,
Benny Affleck,
creative, yeah,
creative
creative
liberties.
liberties taken.
And that's what happened in The Town too, right? The Ben
I don't
Affleck
know what
movie.
that's based upon. That's just based on.
It's just Ben Affleck closing his eyes and putting his fingers on a keyboard and writing a script and being like, yeah. this is Boston.
I mean, if it gets you an Oscar, he's got 2 writing Oscars, doesn't he?
Is
One
it
for Good Will
Argo?
Hunting and Argo, or maybe not Argo. I don't. Did Argo win best? Maybe that's what it was. It
won
won
Best Picture. Man,
best.
the
Let me look.
Oscars so white. First of all, hashtag
Yeah,
Oscars so white.
Still using that hashtag.
Yep, dragging it as far as we can go. But also, like, I don't know. I stopped watching the Oscars or caring very much about it when, like, movies like Argo, where it's like, oh, it's not the greatest year for movies, but we still got to give somebody an award. So they give it like, yeah, Argo's good, right, guys? And they're like, yeah, sure. Or like, The Departed is always the big one.
Yeah.
It was like,
what else was that? So that year,
for Argo or The Departed?
the year that Argo won, if this is correct, there was Les Mis was nominated.
Oh wow.
For Best Picture, which I think everybody hated that, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean it didn't
and
seem
then Life of Pi, I guess it beat out Life of Pi and Lincoln,
Jesus.
Zero Dark 30, Django.
Yeah, that's a thin soup right there.
A list of Oscar nominated movies. The internet isn't
it also seems like,
edit that out so I don't sound stupid.
No, it's like when they expanded it to 10 movies. I mean, it's just a business. It's just like, does Toy Story 4 really deserve to be nominated for Best Picture? I mean, maybe, but also, like, that's what Best Animated, feature is for.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of seems like a.
What does it mean though? It's just like those people's favorite movie. Like it has nothing to do with. It's all subjective.
Yeah. Oh, totally. All right. Let's Argo. Yeah. So there are a few heavy hitters. Amour, which is a foreign language film, which will never, apart from Parasite, would win. That was the year.
That sets a new precedent.
Yeah, for sure. Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Don't need to say anything more about that. Lincoln. So there were 2 slave movies, Lincoln and Django Unchained. Zero Dark 30, that was the same year. Silver Linings Playbook. Life of Pi, Les Miserables, Beasts of the Southern Wild, which was like the Sundance, like every year there's like a Sundance or like an indie movie that makes it, but has like no chance of winning Best Picture. How about The Artist the year before that? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, I saw that in the theater.
How was that experience? Because I only saw it at home. I was like, I like silent movies, but also like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that I liked it. If I can't remember liking it or not liking it, then I probably didn't like it. It's probably not a good movie.
Wow, The King's Speech won Best Picture the year before that? Wow, I did not think that.
What else was up that year?
King's Speech, 127 Hours, James Franco, Danny Boyle. Black Swan, which I feel like is
I like Black Swan.
Probably a better movie than King's Speech.
Yeah.
The Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the Fighter. This is the David O. Russell comeback.
Your favorite, Amy Adams.
Oh yeah, love. Hashtag
Oscar so white.
Oscar so white. Inception. That was the year we all got incepted. The Kids Are All Right. The Social Network, which everybody and their mom loves. Toy Story 3, which is probably the best movie out of those so far. True Grit and Winter's Bone, which also is really good. But yeah, like I feel like if they did it like MTV style, where they were just like the most popular movie, more people would like it and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
I want Nickelodeon style where the winners get slimed.
They get slimed. What would be the Oscars versions of slime? Just like have liquid.
I think it would be slime,
money.
but like a different, be melted gold.
Melted gold.
And just burn everybody that it pours on. But they'd be good scars, people would see them.
Oh
and they'd
yeah.
be like, "Oh, that person won an Oscar."
And then wouldn't it feel like it's kind of like an old medieval thing where it's, if you won an Oscar,
Yeah,
you
they
just
dump
have this
feathers on you. They tar and feather
they
you.
tar and feather you with gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. Yeah, Oscars I feel like are always part of the controversy of trying to capture a zeitgeist of the year while also like recognizing what was, arguably the best thing in filmmaking that year.
Hmm.
But 2010 when they opened it up to like, or 2009 when they opened up to make it instead of 5, it was like 10 or 9. Um, it just became like a business thing where it's just like, oh well, yeah, if we can get a best picture nom, then we'll make so much more money because there's
Wait, who makes? Do you get money if you win an Oscar, or it's just like more exposure, and then obviously you can make something easier,
exposure, because I
like
think you can
exposure? Yeah.
you can just put like the stamp of like uh Oscar nominated on everything. You can recut, you can like re-release
Right.
a trailer and be like
That's cool that you
Oscar
don't even have
nominated.
to win. You can just put
Yeah.
nominated. And then,
I feel like because there are so many categories too, you could just start putting that on stuff and people wouldn't even really bat an eye, which is why they started doing like, I always remember when they were like, uh, from the producers of Anchorman or whatever, and you're just like, what? Who cares?
I like from the twisted minds that brought you.
From the twisted mind of Get Out. And you're like, you mean
Yeah.
Jordan Peele, right? And it's like, no, it's actually a third producer on Get Out that isn't Jordan Peele, but we want to use his fame to sell fucking the new Invisible Man or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the twisted mind, or I guess that's definitely something that would be at the beginning of a Rob Zombie movie, from the twisted mind of Rob Zombie.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like you could start doing that in anything really, and people would be like, "Oh wow, did you know he was nominated for an Oscar? He didn't win, but he's Oscar nominated." Like,
Yeah.
who's gonna check if you're like an Oscar nominated costume designer? Because all you have to say is Oscar nominated. They don't really care.
Right.
You can just go through life. I
Having
there,
us.
there are people who do that. Will just like buy fake Emmy statues and just have them on their desk and be like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I won that a long time ago."
My dentist has a one. It's an Oscar. It's on the. It's it's not a real. It's on the front desk when you walk in. It's an Oscar statue, and it says "World's Best Dentist" on it.
That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
An Oscar statue. So he's, how like the Oscar statue, is he holding an Oscar?
I don't
Like,
know
because
that.
he's got his like hands clasped, um,
Yeah.
like in front of him, and I always just assumed he was holding an Oscar.
Let's see.
Oscar statue. Let's see.
So
Nope.
he's holding him,
Is it a
holding like a
staff?
sword. Yeah, it looks like it's supposed to be a sword or something.
Yeah, it does. Is the Oscar the, in like the comedy and drama masks? Is the
Yeah.
Oscar like the physical embodiment of that, of drama? Also,
Well, he's
he's a
not.
dude.
Yeah.
Oscar's so male.
Mm.
I mean, let's talk about it. And he's
What do you
naked.
think? He is naked, but the staff or sword is covering
It's tastefully placed.
his little penis.
Wait, does he have a butt? Does the Oscar statue have a butt? I've never
Oh, I
seen the
don't know.
back of
Let's
an
look.
Oscar statue. Yeah, he got like he doesn't have like cheeks. He's got like a white guy butt.
So just a flat.
Yeah, just like a flat, not really defined butt. He could do some squats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it'd be funny if like you get the Oscar and you just look at it and you turn around, he's just got yeeks, just big yeeks, and you're just like, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think the Oscar, like, how like the NBA logo is it Jerry West?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's Jerry West. It's like a photo of him that was made into like the color logo of the NBA.
Mhm.
I wonder if Oscar was designed after. It looks like he was designed after like the character from Prometheus, that just like alien dude.
They
Just
should
like
change it every year and make it like another classic movie.
if you win Best Picture, it should be you. So it's
Yeah.
like one
So
year it's like
Joker is next year.
yeah, it's Todd Phillips as
Or
the
no,
Oscar,
Joker didn't win this. Yeah, but yeah.
or Peter
The other-
Jackson. Peter Jackson
Mhm.
wins, or James Cameron, and it's just like shaped just like you. I I think that would be dope.
Yeah,
You know,
because
and
you earned it.
yeah, absolutely. You made a movie about uh, a racist Italian guy who is driving around a black piano player, and you deserve to be the statue now. Oh man,
You
how's
liked
there?
Green Book though. What were you gonna ask?
I never saw Green Book. As soon as I saw the trailer for the movie, I was just like, I pretty much saw this movie. Like it's like
It's
every other of those.
An Oscar movie.
Yeah,
Like
it's an Oscar
it's
movie,
intentionally going for that sort of like.
and it's like they've already made those kind of like white guy understands black person movie, you know? And yeah, I feel like I got it. Like I don't necessarily see the whole like once I see just like the old timey piano playing and that music, and then just like really starched white dress shirts and like super tight ties and black hats when it's like 9 million degrees outside and everybody's like dressed like they're going to church. I'm just like, yeah, I got it. I get it. I don't I don't need to see it. I'm good. I'm Gucci. It was like La La Land. I don't need to see that.
Yeah. Oh no way.
Yeah. The Goss. But yeah. All right. Should we get started?
Let's get started.